Welcome! I am the Moonshin King of the century. Today, I am back with a review. It's been some time, but this series brought me back to my doom. And here I return. I have a lot to say. So, won't you please stay with you? Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your potty or your poopy time. But here we are with a new series called Obi-Wan Kenobi. Even though he's not even called Obi-Wan, he doesn't like being called Obi-Wan anymore. And yet that is the name of the series. Very treacherous to you. So, I will be reviewing overall what I have seen today from episode 1 to episode 4 in no particular order. So, this is about in between episode 3 and episode 4 of the Star Wars franchise. And this has been very long anticipated. People have been wanting an Obi-Wan movie for a long time, but it ended up a series. And I believe all the worse for it. I think it would have been better to have been a movie, especially since he is such a central character. He was in episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, the actor. And that's a good thing that they brought the original actor, the hairy guy, Ewan McGregor. Very Irish for you. However, he is also a central character in the original trilogy by Alec McGuinness. Also very Irish for the beer. And this is not like Rogue One. This is not like Han Solo. Oh, Han Solo was a film. Rogue One was a film. This is more central, you would think. Much more central. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Why is it not a movie? This is not Mandalorian, who we've never met before. This is not Boba Fett, who only had 5 seconds of screen time before he was bonged into the giant hole in the desert, and who hardly said anything. This is a central character, should have been a movie, and the series, even though it's nice to anticipate every week, still I do not excite myself because this series was very disappointing to you because so many dummy. Where do I even start? I'm trying to figure out where to start to critique this series. Episode 1 was bad, or at least not good. Episode 2 was bad. Episode 3 was even worse. Episode 4, I wouldn't say it was the worst, but it was still not good for me. So, what don't I like about this series? Well, first of all, he is very dreary. It's been 10 years since the events of Revenge of the Sith. And Obi-Wan is on Tatooine in a desert. And he is in hiding for you. He buried his lightsaber, an Anakin's lightsaber, in a box where no one can find it. So much to go through. That is not the problem so far. The problem comes with these guys. There's a Baldy who looks like an egg. There's this Kung Lao Mortal Kombat guy. There's this woman who looks very ordinary and average. She looks average. She talks average. There is nothing memorable about her. And then there's another lady who looks a bit creepier. They've made some effort with her look, but she barely says anything. And it's confusing for people who may not have seen the spin-offs. They may not have read the comics. But there are these people called the Inquisitors, and it's confusing for the lay person because, as we know from the prequels, there are only two Sith, a master and the apprentice. But now all of a sudden we have this Kung Lao Mortal Kombat. We have this average woman who sounds like she's from London, from the suburbs. And we have this other lady who I don't remember her talking, but I'm pretty sure she did at some point. And they all have lightsaber, I believe. They have force powers, but they are not Darth Vader. They are not the Emperor. They are just running about looking for Jedi. And it's strange because if you go from Revenge of the Sith to this, already you are confused. And I do not like this. I think it ruins the rules in the prequels, and even though they broke it previously before this with Asajj and others, but still, you have these three guys, and you have Obi-Wan, and it's surprising they're on the same planet as Obi-Wan. That's surprising because this is supposed to be a barren land. He chose this place for a reason. And yet you have these Inquisitors all came here to hunt a Jedi. I'm not sure how the word got so far to them, but there was a Jedi hiding on this planet also, another Jedi. And Obi-Wan refuses to help him. Obi-Wan just sends him off. He says, "I'm not Obi-Wan!" He does not like that name, and he sends him off away. And then he ends up dead. This other Jedi, who I can't even remember the name. So basically, Obi-Wan is very grumpy. Obi-Wan is basically Luke from The Last Jedi all over again. He does not help. He even when someone recognized him, a Jedi being hunted, he just sent them away, didn't bother to help. And he mentions Qui-Gon, who you might remember from episode 1, his master. And he's trying to get in contact with him. And that is very dreary because this has been 10 years. Surely he has made contact in 10 years. What happened to Yoda? I thought he was teaching you. I thought he was where is Yoda? What's he up to? Maybe it will be the Yoda series next. Maybe he will be half CGI, half practical. Maybe a dolly head with a CGI body jumping around. But yes, he did not help. And then, well, I'm not going to go through everything because there's a lot that I could criticize. But from memory, I did not like this new character. I didn't like the idea of these other Force users, these evil ones. But especially, I did not like the woman. Um, the main, she's very jealous. She's trying to prove herself. It hints at some backstory. She's very adamant she wants to get Obi-Wan. Even 10, she does not even look that old, so I don't know what beef she has with, what roasty time she has with Obi-Wan, but it's been 10 years, no sighting of him, and she's still trying to find him for some reason, which we have not discovered yet, but there's clearly some backstory. And the other Force users, the Inquisitors, I think they're called, are annoyed by her. They don't like her ambition. She is going off track. No, this is a spoiler review, just so you know, so I will warn you if anyone dares to watch. So, there is this baldy egg. He actually looked interesting. Whereas this woman did not look interesting, sound interesting, or do anything that interesting. But neither did this bald guy. He just walked around basically to scold her every time. And I was very surprised that he actually gets killed at the end of episode 2, I think. It was very abrupt, very strange, especially because I assumed he was going to stick around for the entire series. He was the Grand Inquisitor, and she betrayed him in a really silly way. She cornered Obi-Wan, and he came marching in for the glory, and she didn't want him to take the glory, so then she kills him, and Obi-Wan escapes. And it's all very bizarre. He also escapes in the next episode in a very bizarre way, I must say. But overall, the series is disappointment after disappointment because it's not there's a little bit of fighting and it's all not that exciting. It's all kind of clunky and slow. It's weird conveniences like the senator's daughter Leia as a baby. Why is she a baby? But she is here. And she gets captured in a garden which has no security. Open to the public, I guess. And this was the plan from the Inquisitor who was after Obi-Wan. Somehow she just knew Obi-Wan would come out the shadows after 10 years and come after the daughter. Conveniently, the senator did not send an army like Leia kept saying. He will send an army after me! He will send an army after me! He never did. He, some reason, thought Obi-Wan is the only one who can get her. Even though he knew the coordinates, even though he apparently has an army, even though this would cause so much upset politically, even the other Inquisitors were astonished. They were shocked she did such a thing. I bet if the senator just alerted the Empire, alerted everybody, they would have got her back quickly. The Inquisitors would have probably have, they would have personally sent her back, possibly. But the way it went down it felt very forced. It was just a way to get Obi-Wan off the planet. I didn't realize he actually would ever leave this planet, especially since the Inquisitors were already on the planet. So that was, he left. Oh, Bail Organa, he's called, who was also in the prequels, I think. And Rogue One. He said, Obi-Wan, 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 and basically forced him to leave. He even personally came down, which was strange because you'd think someone would notice the senator sneaking into this country, this planet, Tatooine. You'd think the Inquisitor, who conjured this plan, would have been looking at the senator, watching his every move to see who he contacts, where he goes, and he both contacts through a hologram, and he personally goes all the way to Tatooine. Somehow he knows exactly which cave Obi-Wan is hiding in. So he leaves the planet after Leia, and his lightsaber on full display multiple times. He even dresses exactly like a Jedi. He looks exactly how he did in the old movies, practically. Not even hiding his face half the time. His lightsaber flopping about. They even go to this bounty hunter planet, practically. And it was like John Wick. Every bounty hunter was alerted to Obi-Wan to find him. And again, it's very disappointing. You'd think it would have been a lot more difficult than it was. Like John Wick, speaking of which, he gets into fist fights, he shoots guns, his force powers are conveniently not at hand, but his gun is and his fists. And he's in this place full of bounty hunters, and it's so easy. You'd think there'd be an army full. He's walking across the crowd. He's walking in the middle of an entire populace of bounty hunters, and somehow he still manages to just walk through, no problem, mostly. Leia was silly and running around the place for someone so clever. She sure is not so clever. Running around, squealing. She doesn't trust Obi-Wan for some reason. She falls off a roof, and Obi-Wan finally uses some force ability. The Inquisitor is running, somehow never gets there in time. Obi-Wan meets this comedian who really cheapens everything that he's in, especially Star Wars. He should not have been in this. But there's this comedian in real life, and he's in Star Wars. He's a fake Jedi. He's pretending to be a Jedi, but he's conning people, and he so quickly wants to help Obi-Wan for some reason. And he tells them to go on a ship, and this is where he gets cornered. Somehow the Inquisitor knows where this comedian guy is. Somehow the comedian knew where she was going to jump down. She reads his mind, so he should have just stayed out the way, because that told her exactly where Obi-Wan was going, although it did lead to the Grand Inquisitor's death, so that was a plus, I guess, for the good guys. And then, well, next episode, Veda shows up abruptly. I did not expect it. He shows up and they have a duel, which was very weird. And Darth Vader was appearing all over the place like a phantom. Somehow Obi-Wan couldn't hear his deep breathing as he approached everywhere. He just appears here, appears there. Obi-Wan's running. Very pathetic being. And it's just sad to witness. Even though, what was the point? I assumed the whole point of the Inquisitors was because obviously he can't fight Veda in the series, because that causes continuity issues with the original. So I'm thinking, okay, they need to have a villain. They have these Inquisitors for Obi-Wan to fight. And yet, he doesn't actually fight the Inquisitors. He fights Vader before he ever fights the Inquisitors. Even now, he's never fought any of the Inquisitors. There's 3 of them. And he fought Vader first, which is so bizarre. Surely that's the whole point of having these extra, basically knockoff Sith Force users. They're basically no different. They have a red lightsaber, they have force power, they're powerful, read minds, all sorts. and yet it's just Obi-Wan versus Vader in a very disappointing climax to that episode. So it's I don't know. Most of the time these inquisitors do nothing but sit around and walk around. Um I definitely thought Obi-Wan would be dueling these guys by now. Certainly before Vader. I didn't even expect Vader. Even though I knew he was in the series, still it came out of nowhere. Everyone just appeared on this planet at the same time to track down Obi-Wan. And instead of doing anything logical, he runs, and not even with the people who were escaping. They had a secret tunnel. They could have made it if they stuck together, but of course they don't stick together. Obi-Wan wants to stay and I guess fight, even though he's useless at fighting, so why he chooses to stay and fight, I have no clue. Who came up with that idea? So it seems very contradictory. He doesn't want to leave the planet because he's not that guy anymore. Yet he leaves the planet with his lightsaber. Yet he uses the gun half the time, most of the time, in fact. And he wants to stay instead of running with Leia and the imposter, who imperial traitor, but not really a traitor, spy, who helps them escape. But then he doesn't run with them. He runs towards Veda and then away from Veda. And then Vader's been chasing him all this time and somehow lets him escape at the end, bizarrely. It's so strange. Why Vader would not have let him escape like that unless he thought he was dead, and there's no way he could have thought Obi-Wan was dead. He only got burnt a little bit by some fire, which somehow didn't cause his robes to go aflame. And next episode, he's right as rain, going on an espionage to rescue Leia, who got kidnapped conveniently somehow. So, yes. And that was episode 4, the most recent episode where they go after Leia. And I don't think it was as bad as episode 3 because the whole thing with Vader was just not good. And the whole thing with the bounty hunter planet was not good. And the whole plan to get him off the planet was not good. Too convenient, too forced, too creepy for you. So I guess episode 4 was the least, I guess, offending. It was still just baffling, I would say. The whole plan was bizarre and again convenient. He did so terribly against Veda last time. How did he know Veda wasn't waiting for him here in this fortress? Because he knew he was obviously going to come after Leia. But yes, everyone seemed so surprised that Obi-Wan came. I almost believe that the Inquisitor actually believed Obi-Wan was dead, even though she was only presumably saying it to Leia to get her to tell the truth, because she wanted to know something from Leia, and it didn't make sense to me what Leia would even know. But she was trying to get information, and she was just saying things. Obi-Wan is dead, but I assumed she knew Obi-Wan was not dead on that planet. So I don't know. I don't know why they were not prepared for Obi-Wan. I don't know why security was so silly. Although that's not a new thing to this series. In plenty of series and movies, that people are wandering all over the place. No cameras, conveniently, and but I think. Oh yes, there was some forced, convenient plot device thrown in at the end. Somehow, after they escape, she says they had a tracker. Why she even knew to give a tracker makes no sense to you. She was too busy questioning Leia and putting her on this scan. It looked like one of those MRI scan, I think it's called. I think she was going to torture her or do something to her to get the info. There was I just don't understand. Everything was so out of nowhere. Why Obi-Wan suddenly thought he could infiltrate this huge, impenetrable, presumably base on his own with only one lady. Surely she would have known she was likely to be caught also because the clearance codes were not from the same sector, and it was just such a loose plan that it's quite unbelievable. And but still, I don't think it did as much damage as the previous episodes. Veda makes an appearance because he's angry and he chokes the Inquisitor for causing this mess. That was the best part of the entire series, probably so far. But even that was a disappointment because, well, he forgives her because she came up with this tracking plot device, and I think it's in the droid Leia has, the tracking their whereabouts. So I just don't get it. Still waiting for a duel, even though we've seen a duel with Obi-Wan and Veda, and it was not great. But we still haven't seen a duel between Obi-Wan and all the Inquisitors. So hopefully they will have that time. And hopefully it will look better. Definitely a downgrade from episode 3, I will tell me. So, but that's the balancing act because obviously in the original, they are very slow, Obi-Wan and Veda, very slow to fight. So it's strange. Rogue One, Vader is fast and striking down all these rebels on the ship at the end. Spoiler. And then 10 minutes later, we get to the original, and he's like, oh, oh, ah. So it's all so nonsensical. But not even that entertaining. But I still watch because it's Star Wars, and I want to see where it goes. But it's not been good so far. We're approaching 30 minutes, so I will end by summing up somehow. Well, not a great gang he had. There was also this droid who helped him escape. That was really badly executed. I don't know how they escaped, but they did somehow. There was Vader was there, the 3 Inquisitors were around somewhere, stormtroopers were there. I just can't add it up to me. So I don't know. Positives. The original actor, and even for Anakin, the original actor, but we don't really see him. We see like a mirage, a glimpse, a vision of him for 1 second. It may be him in the Darth Vader makeup when he's in the Bacta tank, because there's a guy who looks like an egg. Not the same guy, a different guy, Vader, who looks like an egg also. So that may be Anakin, Hayden Christensen. It may be him in makeup. It may not be either. So that's good, but also bad because it's a shame to see how things are. But the prequels also were not the most sensical thing a lot of the time either. But still, the characters are not interesting, the new characters. I'm not that interested in Obi-Wan being depressed after 10 years. I'm not that interested in seeing him not being able to fight very well. Not using the Force very well. Being caught. In the original, he did a nice mind trick when he was being inspected by the stormtrooper. This time, it was such a messy, clunky thing. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. Then he gets recognized by the droid, and that's what alerts everybody to suddenly come down to this planet. And overall, I feel it's just The Last Jedi all over again. Which, I can understand he will be regretful, but he just isn't the same optimism. They had a mission. On one hand, again, contradictory, he's waiting for Luke to be grown so he can train him. And on the other hand, he doesn't want anything to do with the Jedi. He's hiding. He says, I'm not that man anymore. So why is he following Luke all the time? It doesn't add up. One or the other. Are you waiting to train Luke into a Jedi, or are you no longer a Jedi? And everything could have been better executed. Everything on that bounty hunter planet was so sloppy. The fight with Veda and his escape was so sloppy, and his escape from the bounty hunter was sloppy. This heist to rescue Leia from this fortress was sloppy, but less offensive. And the entire plot to get him off the planet out of hiding was forced and sloppy. Sloppy, and that is my opinion so far. It may change with the following episodes, but so far, I don't have good reviews. It's been thumbs down for episode 1, 2 thumbs down for episode 2, 3 thumbs down for episode 3, and I think 2 thumbs down again, or maybe just 1. 2 or 1 for episode 4. It's just kind of, you get used to disappointment after a while. You get used to nonsense coming your way, so it doesn't hit as hard. But yes, it seems some legacy is being ruined. They could have made it great, but they made it a crime. Tell me your thoughts below. And farewell, my moonshins. Take care, my moonshins. Ah!